Welcome to this edition of the 700 Club. You want to hear a fun story? This is a fun story. You remember 2012, the Mayan calendar says, well, there's going to be an explosion, there's going to be a collapse of our galaxy, and the center of the galaxy is going to implode or something. Well, it didn't quite happen that way, but their knowledge of astronomy was extraordinary. So this youngster in Canada, he lives in Montreal, decided he was going to do something that no scientist had ever done. He was going to map out all the Mayan cities that had been located in the Yucatan, up in Mexico, and these various other places. And he would try to match them with the constellations. And lo and behold, they began to make an identical match. And then he found one constellation that had a very bright star, and it had no Mayan city to it. So he talked the Canadian aerospace company into pointing its satellite telescope in this place, and guess what? They found what seems to be the biggest Mayan city ever discovered, and no scientist had ever done it, and this 15-year-old kid is getting to name the city, and it's kind of exciting. Isn't that something?
It is very exciting.
But they say it's so expensive to go down there because it's all impenetrable jungle and so forth. But imagine there was some bright star constellation. He's got all these various Google maps, and he spent a couple of years just poring over them.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
That is so cool.
Well, I'm just delighted. Yeah. 15 years old, Montreal, Canada. Our salute to him. And Wendy comes from the great cold state of West Virginia, which delivered a smashing victory to
Donald Trump.
And
Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
And Bernie Sanders, yeah, the coal miners have spoken, haven't they? Well, Bernie Sanders has again beaten Hillary Clinton, this time in my home state of West Virginia. But Clinton is still virtually certain to face off against Trump in the fall. And Donald Trump is looking at a short list for his possible running mates. Dale Hurd has the story.
He's still way behind, but says he's not giving up. Bernie Sanders calls his win in West Virginia tremendous.
It appears that we've won a big victory in West Virginia.
Hillary Clinton still holds a commanding delegate lead, but Sanders still has the fight in him.
We are in this campaign to win the Democratic nomination.
But Sanders' quest appears to be almost impossible, with Clinton 94% of the way to winning the nomination.
If I'm so fortunate enough as to be the nominee, I am looking forward to debating Donald Trump come the fall.
Still, Clinton faces the FBI investigation of her email scandal. Her loss in West Virginia, a state she took in 2008, was payback for her statements in March that a lot of coal miners and coal companies would be out of business. But she's also polling badly among whites, men, and young people. Many loyal Sanders supporters vow to never vote for her. On the Republican side, Donald Trump kept rolling, winning West Virginia and Nebraska. He told the Associated Press he's looking at 5 or 6 people as his running mate, all with deep political experience. One person Trump is likely not considering is Senator Marco Rubio, who told CNN he disagrees with Trump's America First foreign policy.
I have well-defined differences with the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party. And like millions of Republicans, he try to reconcile those two things.
Trump has a big meeting Thursday with Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, a group he's railed against, to try to patch up the public differences they've had. Unifying the Democrats is going to be an issue for Hillary Clinton, too. So after tough primary battles, both parties are facing the question of how to work together in the general election this fall. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Oh, that's simply amazing. You know, there's a good friend. He's a congressman for the 4th District. He's now running for the seat in the 2nd District. He happens to, his name is Randy Forbes, and he happens to hold the chairmanship of the subcommittee of the House Armed Services Committee that deals with the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and so forth. And in a meeting that we had, Gordon and I, with him a few days ago, we learned the appalling truth of what's happening to our military, how it's being degraded, There will not be enough ships, there will not be enough men, there will not be enough aircraft to fight any kind of a war, and certainly to project our power around the world. And, well, a shocking report about this weakness of the U.S. Army. Charlene Aaron has that story.
That's right, Pat. The Army has shrunk to its smallest level since before World War II. The Army Times reports it's now down to 479,000 soldiers on active duty. That's the lowest number since 1940. The Army does still have more than 500,000 soldiers in reserve, but without intervention from Congress or the Defense Department, the Army will continue to shrink down to 450,000 soldiers by 2018. Pat?
Well, it looks like Donald Trump has said, I'm going to rebuild the armed forces. We've got to have a larger Navy. We were looking at a 500-ship Navy. We're talking about 250 ships. They just can't project power in the South China Sea, into the Mediterranean, off the coast of Africa, and all the other places they have to be. They just can't do it. And I understand that the Air Force has had to borrow parts from, like, parts stores and people who are flying planes in exhibitions in order to get the spare parts to keep their airplanes going. It's horrible. So in any event, it hasn't all been Obama, but it's this squeeze that's going on. The sequester's taken place because of his refusal to go along with anything that Congress wanted, and Congress has refused to go along with what he wanted. And so there's been a standoff, and the ones that have taken it in the neck have been the U.S. military. And that's one of the strong points about Trump and what Congressman Forbes was telling us. They've just got to fight for these things, or something bad can happen to America. Charlene?
Well, Pat, about 5,000 U.S. troops recently joined with forces from the Philippines for a large-scale military exercise. The longtime allies insist the event is not directly aimed as a response to China's growing aggression in its territorial claims in the West Philippine Sea. But the Philippines is clearly intent on improving its defense capabilities. Lucia Tolusan brings us that story.
This amphibious landing to secure Philippine territory is one simulated scenario in joint military exercises between the U.S. and Philippine armed forces. Called Balikatan, in Filipino it means standing shoulder to shoulder or sharing the load together. It's done regularly as part of the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty. A main feature of the exercise is the use of sophisticated 21st century weaponry, like this new mobile rocket launcher system, and new jets and planes which the Philippines may need to use against China as it continues to flex its muscles in the region.
The MB-22 aircraft of the U.S. Air Force has just landed, and this is the kind of equipment that will be used to enhance the capabilities of the defense system of the armed forces of the Philippines.
The joint war games came just before possible UN tribunal decision on the Philippines' challenge to Chinese territorial claims. In recent months, China has built massive structures, radar systems, and airstrips over contested reefs and outcrops, which the Philippines says belongs to them. That's because they are situated within its 270 nautical mile exclusive zone that is recognized by international law. Although Philippine and U.S. officials insist that the Balikatan exercises are not a response to China's aggression in the West Philippine Sea, analysts see the exercise as preparations to confront China if necessary.
The presence of our friends from the United States is one of course, a big help to our country when it comes to deterrence to the actions of China at the West Philippine Sea.
What kind of commitment can we get from the U.S.?
Ironclad. The President came out here and said that about 3 months ago. He said the alliance and the relationship is ironclad. You can count on us. There's a lot riding on making sure that we're secure, that security in this region continues.
The Philippines is increasing its military engagements with the U.S. under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. It's part of President Barack Obama's plan to reassert American influence not only in the Philippines but throughout the Asian Pacific. Lucille Telusan, CBN News, Antique, Philippines.
And the Philippines has also just elected a new president. Rodrigo Duterte has been called the Donald Trump of the Philippines. He's been the mayor of a major city in the country for 22 years. He has been compared to Trump because of his fiery language, and he's promising to take on criminals and corruption. In health news, junk food could be just as bad for your kidneys as type 2 diabetes. Researchers at a university in the United Kingdom fed rats a diet of chocolate bars, cheese, biscuits, and marshmallows for 8 weeks. And they fed some other rats a diet high in fat for 5 weeks. Afterward, the researchers checked the rats' kidneys and found what they called very similar negative effects, along with increases in blood sugar. The study was conducted on rats and not people, so the results aren't conclusive for humans, but other studies have shown that junk food can be indeed harmful to your health. Pat?
Well, we've been saying that for a long time, and every time we turn around, there's a new scientific study indicating that junk food's bad for you. Sugary drinks are bad for you. The stuff that you buy, Cokes and Pepsis and all those things are bad for you. And now to bring on type 2 diabetes, that is bad news.